attended this unusual, mostly invisible conference didn't drop in for the day to discuss wetland rehabilitation, endangered species habitat protection, prescribed burning, or even reforestation. The problem of global warming didn't even draw that much attention. No, the subject at hand for this room full of environmental science PhDs was neoclassical economics, and one key ingredient missing from all those equations that professional economists employ: the incoherent jumble of Greek letters and other symbols that baffles the layperson. The missing factor in those equations, according to these attendees: energy. No, not oil and gas prices, coal demand, or local electricity rates. Those topics are covered by economists all the time and in immense detail, as you may already know. The attendees of the second annual gathering of this newly formed International Society for Biophysical Economics understood this as well. No, what they had in mind was a more fundamental conceptualization of energy. Allow me to provide a very simple, borderline idiotic illustration. Imagine a squirrel running around in a grove in search of nuts. We've all seen this. The squirrel runs along the ground, scrambling up trees, seeking out traces, and snatching up food resources wherever and whenever she can find them. In the process, she gathers dozens or even hundreds of nuts throughout the course of the day, perhaps occasionally stuffed in her cheeks, and literally squirrels them away into a little nook somewhere. Once a few are stored for safekeeping, off the little squirrel goes again to find more as quickly as possible before the winter sets in. It's an enormous expenditure of calories, which is a measure of stored energy burned by the physical exertion of organic matter, or life. How does the squirrel recover this spent energy? Easy. She merely consumes one or several of the nuts she's been busy storing for winter this entire time. With each fresh energy boost, her frame is reinvigorated, allowing her to move again, to run even farther afield, faster perhaps, to new trees and hollows, off to newer and greater opportunities in an effort to expand her bounty as much as possible. And when she starts getting weak, she can simply consume more nuts, boosting her energy stores further for the additional work ahead. Now, listeners, let me ask you something. How long can our squirrel keep all this up? Biologists and wildlife researchers have long known the answer, and it's rather simple on its face. The squirrel can continue expending these calories so long as her nut consumption allows her to gain more caloric energy back than the amount of energy she burned in the pursuit and acquisition of those nuts. In other words, the nuts she eats have to net her back more energy than she burned in finding and taking possession of those same nuts in the first place. Of course, old age, injury, disease, predation, and other factors of mortality will eventually take their toll, and the squirrel's days of foraging will inevitably come to an end. But the aforementioned concept is more or less foundational to biology. Individual living creatures, and indeed entire colonies of life, can survive and thrive for only so long as they can obtain more energy from their environment than they consume in the pursuit and acquisition of this same energy from that environment. That's all a bit too wordy, so biologists have devised a clever acronym to describe the process and to save space in their academic journals. EROI, short for Net Energy Return on Investment. This is the fundamental notion of energy and its expenditure that the women and men of forestry, ecology, biology, and hydrology had in mind at that humble gathering in Syracuse those many years ago. Hence, the question they continue to challenge mainstream economists with today. If EROI is essential to all wildlife, individually and collectively, then why should humans, or human societies at large, be any different? Indeed, if EROI is critical to understanding ecology in general, and it is,